Kim, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited. This is officially our second Learn and Go training. And I know this has been highly anticipated, our fundraising fundamentals, because a lot of you have wanted to learn more. And, you know, we're so fortunate that we have so many of our Mia Bella who have been with Mia Bella for years that have been doing fundraisers, and hopefully we'll hear from them through this too. But we have three leaders who used to be with Gold Canyon, who they were the bomb, let's just put it that way, when it comes to fundraisers. And they have so much to share and for us to learn from them. So I'm really excited about what they have to share today. And I want to thank them. A lot of work went into this presentation. I really appreciate all the time that you guys have put into this. And I wanted to preface this too, that guys, you know, I was hired to grow Mia Bella's. All right, to grow sales, to grow sponsoring. And as part of that, we can't grow unless we work together and learn from each other. And that is just huge, because I'm not out there in the field doing what you guys are doing. I learn from you. And that's what I want everyone to learn from each other. And that's why we're doing these trainings. And I remind you all, I'm always looking for people. If you feel really confident in something and you want to share something and train, let me know, because I'm happy to set you up and help you with your slides, do whatever we need and get it out there. But I did want to preface this training. This is something that initially these three ladies had really taken the initiative and put the initial brochures for summer together, because that's what we used to do. That's what their teams were used to doing. And they're like, we have to have this because our organizations are looking for our fundraising program and we don't have anything to show them. So they're used to having a little more limited fragrance, which is great with Mia Bella because you guys can pick as many fragrances as you want, but we were used to giving them a little more limited so that it wasn't choice overload, because that's sometimes what happens. It confuses people because there's so many things to choose from. So we were used to 15. So this is just how we used to do it. It does not mean that it's the perfect way or the right way, but we wanted to show you what we did. And I'm going to tell you that the fundraising program was hugely successful at Gold Canyon, and we want to help all of you be successful in it as well. And if you're already successful, a bigger success. That's what we're looking for here. So when it came to the fragrances, I know initially what these ladies did is they kind of looked at, we didn't know the fragrances yet, right, guys? I mean, we didn't know how they compared, what were similar to what their organizations were used to. So summer, they kind of went by the names and what they were familiar with a lot of them not even had burned them yet. Now, when it came to fall, winter, the numbers girl got involved and I ran all the reports. And now that I had access to everything at Mia Bella's, I ran the reports, ran the numbers, looked at your top selling years, looked at the last fourth quarter, and then looked at what's happened since March to see, and took all those numbers and looked at what are the top sellers. Then we also looked at what are recognizable names, because, you know, research has shown that people, when they don't have a fragrance sampler in front of them, they're going to gravitate towards names that they know. So it doesn't mean all of them have to be that way. I mean, you guys from Gold Canyon, you know, we had one called Autumn Walk. Now, who knows what Autumn Walk smells like, but heck, that thing sold like crazy. It was always in our top 5. But for the most part, we want to keep it where they're the names that are more familiar. So that's how these fragrances were selected this time. I mean, it really was the top sellers and recognizable names, and ones that we felt, because they had the opportunity to bring them, that had that higher fragrance show. So that first experience is the best experience for all these organizations. So I wanted to give you a little background about how all this came around. And I'm still waiting on the dates of the fundraiser packets for fall, winter, but we're hoping to get those up this week or early next week so that the fall, winter ones will be available, because the summer ones are up right now. So with that being said, I'm really excited to introduce our first presenter of the evening, Miss Jody Zavala, who is a director with Mia Bella's. So welcome, Jody. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know there's maybe people on this phone that don't know who you are.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Kim. Yes, my name's Jody Zavala, and I joined Mia Bella in March of this year. But I've been in the candle fragrance industry for 21 plus years, and I love it. I love fragrance. I love, you know, having candles in my home, and I'm very passionate about fundraisers, which is what we're going to talk about today. And one of the things that I love most about fundraisers is just connecting with so many people. Because with fundraisers, when you work with a group, you're working with, you know, it might be a small group, it might be a large group, but you know, you end up reaching so many people because, you know, all of them are reaching out to their friends and family. So you get to connect with a lot of different people, and just have gotten to meet so many awesome people through fundraisers. So I love that. And I am from Peoria, Arizona, although I'm visiting my best friend Kylee in Nashville. So, so thank you. Okay. Do you want me to go forward or? Okay. All right. So we're going to talk to you guys about basically the ABCs of fundraising. And one of the biggest things that we you know, we get questions about is who do we reach out to? And I don't know, is somebody pushing the slides, Kim, or there we go. Where do I begin? So this is a big question, and honestly, in my opinion, the possibilities are endless. I mean, there's the obvious things, you know, the schools and the teams and you know, the clubs, the choirs, all of those, the cheer teams and the dance teams, churches, animal shelters. But there's so many other ways to help people raise funds. And there's nothing wrong with, yes, this is a great photo of all these groups. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to individuals, but also, you know, I've had candle team members who can be driving down the road and they'll see a car wash going on, and they're clearly trying to raise money for something, right? So, you know, you pull in, you get your car washed, you share the fundraiser information with the chairperson that's there or whoever's running the show. But everybody loves candles. So it's such a great way to raise funds for your organization or for your, you know, for a cause, whether it's an individual, like it says here, or if it's a whole group. I've had people that have done a fundraiser with me for years and years and years, you know, 10 years, every spring and every fall. And once you make that connection with them and they really see what they can make on each candle they sell, which is $8, you know, give or take, depending on what you guys are selling them for, which you'll find out more in this presentation. But we want to be able to give them at least $8 on every candle, and we can do that. We can absolutely do that with this program. So anything to help improve the community.
And that's, you know, and that's why I put that in there, Jody, too, because I know we would get a lot of questions at the home office about, well, what constitutes a fundraiser? And, you know, and I don't mean to offend anybody by this, but we had somebody who was going to get a breast enhancement and said, can I do a fundraiser for that? And I said, well, I mean, I guess some people would think that's improving the community, but not exactly what we had in mind. So, you know, it really is to help others, not so much yourself in that. I mean, obviously people have medical things that they're going through personally, but something like that would be the example we give them. Like, that's probably not falling under this umbrella if you're wondering what exactly falls into this. So, yes. And again, with all the healthcare workers, all of these things going on, there's so many different causes now that are surfacing that we would never have thought of before either. So.
Absolutely. So what you want to do is, when you're identifying an organization, you want to obviously reach out to that chairperson. And sometimes it's, you know, I just had someone reach out to me today who said, hey, you know, I know this group, they need to raise some funds for their cause. Can I give them your information? And I'm like, absolutely. So I'm going to put together, you know, just a nice information email. She gave me her contact information, and I'll send her the basic information, and ask her, you know, what are their needs, and what are they raising money for? How many sellers are there? You know, ask all those pertinent information questions, and then set up a meeting. And, you know, maybe we can talk on the phone. She's out of state, so we can talk on the phone and I can explain to her, you know, how all that works. tell her, you know, I have forms, I'll send them out, whatever it is we need to do. I want to know her goals and their goals for their group based on, you know, what she tells me, so I can help them raise the money they need to raise. And then I can't take any credit at all for this form, but I absolutely love it. So Denise Molitsky, who you guys will all hear from in just a little bit, she created this form, and it's kind of just a nice information sheet. And I'm sure that Denise will be sharing this form in our Bella Builders page later, so don't worry that you won't get it, because I'm sure she'll share it. But this form kind of just gives you an idea of what you need to know in order to help them be successful. What are their goals? You know, what's their whole story, so that you can help them do a fundraiser that's going to fulfill their needs. And then your fundraiser packet. So this is what I was talking about. So if you were to pull up, you know, at a car wash and you saw, I would keep these in my car, you know, just little envelopes full of all the information. So you would have your letter that explain, you know, what you would do for the organization, and kind of make it personal. Maybe share a success story from a previous fundraiser. The fundraiser brochures that we can order now on our back office. And then, you know, have a sample letter that the organization could use during their sale. And possibly, if you want to, it's not necessary, but if you want to, you could gift them a candle, kind of an example of our 16-ounce candle that they'll be selling. Again, that's not, you know, something you have to do, but it is kind of a nice little touch to give the chairperson a candle to burn and try. And then this is a letter. So this is my letter. And so this is just something that I would give to someone who is thinking about doing a fundraiser with me. Again, I will share this with you guys. You're more than welcome to, you know, copy it, make it your own. Obviously, I talk about being a PE teacher in there, and not, you know, you wouldn't have that in your letter, but it just shares, you know, I know what it's like to try to raise money for your sports teams and all of the things that you want to do as a club or an activity at school. So this is my letter. And then the next page, I think, is Denise's letter. So it just goes to show, you know, having that personal touch and that personal letter that you can connect with someone about, it just really helps. It kind of helps them to understand what you're going to do for them.
Sorry, I'm on mute.
And then there's Denise.
And our next presenter, Denise Molitsky, our 5K Diamond distributor. So Denise, tell them a little bit about you and where you're from.
I am from Indiana, and pretty much just like Jody and also Kylee, I came over to Miabella in March, but I am also not new to the candle world. I've been selling candles for over 17 years and have probably done fundraising for at least the last 15 or so. And to me, you know, candles says it all, right? It's the vehicle to so many relationships, and the fundraising is just this one portion of it, but it goes so much above and beyond fundraising, because your fundraising shares, when you do it time and time again, they become your friends. And not only do they become your friends, they are your advocates for your business. They pass the information along. And I now have many of them that contact me before the season, before I can ever even get to them for that repeat fundraiser. So again, it's a great avenue for business, and it's I'm equally as passionate about it. I love the fundraising aspect of it. I just love the whole process from start to finish, connecting with everyone. And that's pretty much it. When I say Indiana, I mean almost Chicago, by the way. I am not down in Indianapolis, for everybody who's always like, oh, I'm right by you. I'm really a Chicago girl, just on the other side of the line. So now after, as Jody said, you've come and you've approached those organizations and they say yes. So now what do you want to do? You're going to set up a meeting, and it can be a conference. Now maybe it might be a Zoom. There's many different ways. You want to discuss with the chairperson to go over those details. And you want to help to determine the price of that candle. Now we have a base price of $20, and that's when we say an $8 profit, it's based off of that $20. And we'll get into some of those other nitty-gritty numbers a little later. We add $2 to the price of the candle for shipping. It kind of puts that shipping cost within each candle so that every purchaser is helping to pay for the shipping as opposed to taking that off of the profit from the organization at the end. It seems to work so much better. We've in all the years done it many different ways, and this way passing that little bit of a cost on to each person purchasing that candle or for each one of those candles, they don't really mind it. It just goes in the cost of that. And tax now, I want to talk about the tax just because I know there are distributors, there may be distributors here who actually have they're filing their own taxes so that they're not being charged tax by Bella, and they may be able to not offer tax, but again, they need to figure out what their state rules are. For everyone else that is paying tax to Bella, regardless of whether that organization is tax exempt or not, we need to charge tax and add that to the price of the candle because there's no way that Mia's not going to charge us tax, and you certainly don't want to eat that cost. As far as the cost of the brochure, that's going to be a personal decision on whether or not you want to pass it on to the organization. I'm going to tell you personally, I do not pass it on because I compete with the cookie dough people and popcorn people and everybody else that's out there, and they don't pay for their brochures, so I'm not going to ask mine. But again, if you're tight in your budget and your funds, you want to figure that cost in, that's clearly up to you. From the chairperson, you want to help. You need to obtain your start dates, your end dates, the number of sellers, because you're going to need to order those packets. If you don't have enough on hand, you'll need to order some more. And again, if you are one of those distributors who is able to take a tax exempt, then you would get that from them as well. For the rest of us, we don't need a tax exempt form. We're adding tax. Well, you can order your fundraiser packets the same place that you get the rest of your Bella supplies. And Lola's done a great job working with us and all the craziness of going, oh, wait, we need to make one more change. And Kylie will say, Lola, can you help us? And, we've developed a great relationship with him over that. You want to label your fundraiser packets with the price. Again, based on where you are, your tax is going to come into play. There is no price on that fundraiser form for that reason. You're going to make sure you put your information on the back of the packet or on the top somewhere. You want to make sure you have that. I am a co-partner with every fundraiser that I do, and they know that, so that my information and phone number is there. So any one of those parents, kids, whoever it is that's selling, they could call me at any time if they have a question, and I'm happy to help too. So that's another part of the partnership with fundraising that is a service to those organizations. If you have an envelope, you want to provide the organization and label it. I found it helpful to label the envelopes with the end date, obviously with the seller name and phone number. That's just another place that you reiterate when those orders need to be turned in, because at the end of the day, the hardest thing I think sometimes about doing the fundraiser is making sure they all get them in on time so that you can collect them all and you're not extending it out. Because if they extend it out and they've told their people when the candles are supposed to come in, but the organizer continues to keep holding it because there's late people, then that just doesn't look good for us. So we want everybody on those same dates to keep the fundraiser rolling. And to prepare a letter to hand out with the fundraiser packets, if the organization wants you to help them do that. Many times I will prepare that for them, they'll copy it, they'll add it with it. It's just another reiteration of helping them get their fundraiser up and running. And of course, you're going to deliver everything to the organization. And here's just an example of one of those letters that you'll see. It just says the start date, where the end date is, the delivery. Now, I'll tell you that sometimes we don't have a delivery date based on how big or small the organization is. If it's a small organization, many times they're pretty flexible on their delivery dates, so sometimes they don't include it. But on larger organizations and larger fundraisers, sometimes they want them in, they want them out, and they want it delivered. So again, here you are to help. And if you read, and we can post this up there too on there, but it is really something that is going to be prepared for and signed by the chairperson. But again, you'll see in this letter, my name is in there with my phone number so that they can again reach me. And this is just one of the samples. I actually use a Avery 10 label form, and that's what the information is that I put on the envelope. So again, and I will always add their due dates once they tell me and print those out as well, so that then it's in red. It's just one more place to help them get those organizations or get the fundraiser packs on time. All right, so when you deliver those packets to your chairperson, again, you want to verify when you're going to pick up those forms from that chairperson. it's going to differ most likely from that turn-in date. Usually I have them allow 2 to 3 days after that turn-in date before I come and collect them, because again, there's always those late people. And I want them, even though you don't want to keep saying, no, I don't want to take late orders, I want them to be successful. So I want them to get as many orders in as they can, because sometimes that last person could have sold quite a few candles and we don't want to turn them away. About 5 days after delivering the packets to the organization, I will follow up with them to make sure that they don't have any additional questions, to make sure that their fundraiser did get off on time. There are some times that they have really good intentions and then there's a tragic event at the high school, right? And they're gonna delay it by a week or so. So just keeping in contact with your chairperson helps to make sure that everybody stays on track. And again, if they need more forms, I can provide that if I have them. Sometimes I'll even send them over a PDF of the form. Now, PDF isn't as great because it's not on the same size piece of paper, but sometimes that's all that they want and need. And then, of course, I'm obviously going to pick up those forms on the designated date that we agreed to. And now we're off to Kylee.
All right, so our next and final presenter is Kylee Francescon, and she is also a director with Mia Bella's. Welcome, Kylee.
Hi. Like I said, she said, I'm Kylee Francescon. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I have been selling candles for 20 years also because this girl asked me to, and so I'm very happy to be here. I'm a fundraising program, and what gets me the most excited is when I'm packing the fundraiser, because I know that like whoever bought them is purchasing something out of the good of their heart, but they don't realize they're actually getting a great product. And I get most excited, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, is when we get those candles is we put our name on the bottom so they can reorder. And I think that is the best. That's what I love about fundraising, of course, and helping the organizations. But I'm excited that Kim invited me on this call and excited to get fundraising started with Mia Bella. And Jody's answering a question. Now I can't see. Now I can't see my form. Okay, what I'm going to talk about is tallying up the fundraiser. Years ago,
hey, Kylee, real quick,
one of my first fundraisers, and it was, yeah.
Kylee, just real quick, I did let people, we are going to do an FAQ at the end. So
okay,
we will get your questions answered at the end, okay?
Okay. Yeah, Jody. Okay. Just kidding. They asked me to talk about tallying up a fundraiser. And years ago, one of my first fundraisers, it was a $17,000 fundraiser. And it was actually a football team, and my sister-in-law headed it up. And she said, come pick up the forms. I took each of the order forms and I went, one, this candle, one. And it took me over 8 hours to tally up the fundraiser as well as count the money. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So at that point, I invented an individual master order form where I put the responsibility of the tallying and the totaling up to the individual seller and or their parents, should it be a child. And it made my life so much easier. So no matter how forms changed or how the fragrances changed, we always had this individual master order form, and I actually copy them all the time. I personally copy them always on pink. So I say, I need your pink form. That's all I want back. So what I do is have them tally their fundraising forms up, turn it in the envelope with their money, and then either I or the chairperson organizer can look and say, okay, there's that much money. They ordered this many candles, and then put it over here, which it makes it easier to do the main master order form, which is what I'm going to use for placing the order. So, and we can go on to the next slide, Kim. I think we have an example actually. So I don't know which way you guys are looking at it, but the taller one, the bigger one, is the individual seller form. So I actually include that with the order form from Mia Bella. And so at the bottom, it says, I understand the totals on this form will be the only candles ordered, and I understand any mistakes and tally are my responsibility. It's easier to have their eyes do that than mine to do 50 forms and go cross-eyed and accidentally order a lemon verbena when I should have ordered a hot apple pie. That gets awkward, you know. So then what I would do is take those forms and then compile them together onto the master order form. And that is what I would use to give the organization their final tallies, as well as that's the form that I would use to enter my order in at Miabella. So, and these forms will be uploaded. Now, when you're tallying it up, it also makes it great because you can include whatever information you could, like depending on the size of the school. If you're doing a whole school, then you could tally it by grade, do it by class, so that you have those orders ready. Then you can make sure all the forms are tallied and ready to go. And again, using the master order form to input each seller's candle order. And then you can verify on your spreadsheet order forms, and then you can print the quantities to order from your master order form, which I said, you know, I just say it a lot again. That helps you get to what you need to do. Okay, so place your order. Currently, now we all know Bob's told us he's updating the system, but right now, the way that you get the price that you need to get to give your organizations their profit, as well as your profit too, is you go to your back office and you click on the specials. All this is our special, the buy 11, get one free, which is gonna give you the candle total price of $10.05. So for right now, that's what you need to do. If for some reason you have an order over 48 candles, I think we all can handle 4 of those specials and enter the orders ourselves from the drop-down menus. But if you have over 48, then you need to email Bob, and hopefully you had a big fundraiser, so you do. And he will enter those fundraisers in for you. So placing a summer fundraiser of 48 candles, you get this form filled out and get it to Bob. Now there's something that we need to note on this. Let's say, for example, for lack of not great math, this is why I need forms, is let's say your order is 60 candles. So, I mean 63 candles, see what I'm saying? So that, you know that you got your 5 of 12, so that's 60, but you got 3 extra. Because you don't have 12 in that total, those 3 are gonna be charged at the regular price of $10.98. So it is our suggestion. I personally, what I would do is I would add 9 more candles on just to get that increment of 12. And those would be ones that I would keep. But it's up to you. Just note that if you have anything that's out of an increment of 12, that those will be charged at $10.98 if you're sending those into Bob, or if you have to place them in addition to your 48. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
And in talking to Bob today too, he just said to make sure that whatever credit card you're using is on file, because the form's going to ask you for the last 4 digits of it, and it's also going to ask you for that 3-digit security code on this form, so that it'll help them streamline the process, that they don't have to pick up the phone and call you and say this isn't on file or whatever. So just make sure that you have that information, and the email that you send it to is also on this form. So just make sure you fill it out completely, and it'll be I'll put it in an Excel format. This is in a PDF right now. I can put both out there, but so whether you scan it and send it in or whatever you want to do, just make sure you email it and attach it, and he will take care of you. And we'll also put the next one is the fall winter. Now, obviously that's not available to August 1st, but it is ready for you as well when you get ready for fall winter, which is coming. We'll be here before we know it.
Okay, is this me or this Denise? That's you. That's me. While waiting for your order, prepare the labels for each customer. Now, Denise is a superstar. This is why I asked if it was Denise. Denise prepares her labels, and she actually sorts by customer. I do not. I sort by seller. But she has a great program where she prepares labels with the seller name, the customer name, and the number of candles orders. Then she labels bags, which I don't believe we have bags available, but you can order them from anywhere like Nashville wraps or anything like that. It makes it nice for the customer, and they're not very expensive. Then she attaches the bags to each seller sheet, and then she prepares a thank you letter for the organization. I do that. And there also are some instructions, and I guess Denise includes a coupon for future use. So then once your order has arrived, and this is very important, unpack each box and sort each candle by scent and organize size of candle within each scent. Now remember, not only for this program, but for any time you get candles, you need to make sure that you get to open them within 48 hours, just in case, you know, when you're shipping glass and wax, things could happen. So just to make sure that nothing is broken. So you can get it replaced, and or so you can get it replaced for your fund and reimbursed for your fundraisers. So, and then using your Miabella invoice, check them just to make sure you got everything. I've had beginning in my fundraising career, had incidents where forgot to count them in, and then you got to go back through all the orders and make sure that you actually had those that you had. So do yourself, and what do they say? An ounce of preparation is worth a pound of frustration. I don't even know if that's how to say it, but trust me, it is. Whatever, I just made up a new saying, and it's the facts. So, and then place a personal label on each candle. And now, we used to place them on the bottom. I know with the lids, they might be a little complicated, but I would think even on the back, a little simple gold foil that says for reorders contact. That's what mine say, for reorders contact, my name, my phone number, and my website address. So, and then again, it's your choice. You can package the order by seller or by customer and with seller. And then using the bottom of the order form, collect all the candles ordered. And that's what the pink form really helps. So you're not going to the hot apple pie box 17 times if they ordered 17 of those. You're going to one time and getting the 17, if that makes sense. Okay, then using the bags you labeled, package each customer if you are going to sort by customer. Then you include any information again, and then when all, place them in the box and label with the seller's name. Now, sometimes you'll have sellers that have 3 and 4 boxes. So I always say Jones, 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4. So you have Jones, all their order together. It makes it so much easier. And then complete the same process for each seller. And if you provide that customer service, whether it be sorting by seller or sorting by customer and seller, you will guarantee to get your return on these fundraisers. They will come back because you've made it so easy rather than just dumping it off and saying, good luck, here's your forms and have a nice day. So they really will appreciate it. And this is something that Jody has included not only in her fundraising orders, but also in her regular orders. So do you want to share this, Jody?
Sure. So because it's new to me and it's new to many of my customers, I just wanted to give them, you know, some tips on our product and kind of how it burns and how wonderfully clean it is, and the fact that I don't have to dip and that's maintenance. So you just blow them out. We're not used to that. And so that's what this is, but it also gives me an opportunity to share, you know, my information, website, and my email address.
Okay, so I get to pick it up from here.
Yes.
And so how you're going to deliver the order. Obviously, you're going to call a chairperson a day or two, and you want to reconfirm the delivery. This is really important because not only are we confirming the date, but where are you actually going to deliver this to? And I say that predominantly for schools because you may have walked in that front door to deliver the fundraising packets, but they want you to come down to the loading dock to deliver the candles, right? So you need to be prepared to know exactly where you're going. You don't want to be showing up with thousands of dollars of candles at the front door if they don't want you there, because then you're just going to be moving them again. You may need to let the chairperson know that you need a few volunteers. Again, this is going to be based on the size of your fundraiser. Do you have a cart that you're going to be hauling the boxes in? Do they have carts to help you with? In small ones, it's not that big of a deal, but when you get into large ones, you really need to know this. And if they're willing to offer volunteers to help you move it, take it. It will just move the process along a lot quicker, and you're not lifting as many. You're going to get a great workout either way, but why get an extra workout if you don't need to? Sorry, Jody, I know you'd say get it. Sometimes I am also, again, their extra person when they're doing that. It's a service that I provide. There's a lot of things you'll see, and like Kylie said, you know, I'm labeling the bags and I'm doing that. And why am I doing a lot of that when others aren't? Because in my area, I compete heavily with Yankee. And they love me because I give them that personal and extra service. So sometimes I am that extra person standing there helping to pass those orders out. Now, you might think, oh, great, I got to spend all that extra time. You know, I might not be making any money. But the reality is you are meeting a lot of those sellers and you're starting to develop a relationship before they've ever even burnt that candle. Because most of the time it's not the kids. Every once in a while in high school it might be, but many times you're meeting the parents. So you get to have those conversations, and that's also where you hear other conversations going on, and you may start to pick up ideas for another fundraiser, right? You can interject again, and you have your packets there, you have your information, you're passing it along. Then I always present my chairperson with a letter that's going to summarize the fundraiser, thanking them, and I'll again follow up a few days later. The next page is going to actually show the summary that I give them, and depending on the organization, some organizations require more than others. Again, small organizations, this is pretty much sufficient. It just breaks it out for them. When I say $8 per candle and a profit, I want them to see exactly where that came from, so they can see that when I break it out and I break the shipping and the tax out separately, and it all makes sense to them. It's also a nice thing to let them know what they owe me. In a fundraiser, sometimes, you know, how the payment happens, that's the agreement, but they need to know what they owe you. And they also, it's nice to see their profit. I keep these as well, because in the next year I can go back and, you know, sometimes an organization one year or another, for one reason or another, may not have as good of a year as the year before, but then they come back and they have the stellar year the next year. And it's a nice way because they can compare from year to year as well. The next one is going to be an itemized invoice. I have a few schools that they require more than just this letter. They're going to require that itemized invoice. Kim, can we go to the next page?
It seems to have frozen on me. Hold on a second. Yeah. Ah,
Nope.
no, it went too far.
Other way, yep.
Hold on.
We're stuck.
Yep, we are. Come on. Oh.
One more.
Is that it?
There you go. Yay.
One more?
No, you're
Yay.
good.
Okay.
Go back up one.
Oh, back one. Okay.
Okay, that one first. So this one has a little bit more, it's broken out again by the candle. Some organizations really want this. You know, when you get your invoice from me, Bella, you get an invoice relatively similar to this, right? So some organizations, again, are looking for this. It's just really itemizing out everything that was in that first page. And then the next one is going to break it out even more. If you have organizations that each seller is raising for their own account, many times you have cheerleaders, you have band members, they're going on a trip, and they're going to raise funds specifically for their account to go towards that. This is a breakout that shows what that individual profit was for each seller. So that the organization doesn't have to do the work, they're not taking the forms. I've provided it, all the numbers match from one to the other, and everybody is happy. And then lastly, I put together this because I'm a huge numbers girl. For anyone who knows me, I need to see the math. So this was just an example that I did because I wanted to make sure that I was charging correctly to make sure that I was seeing a profit in this as well. So I've used this actually on a fundraiser. I took a fundraiser that I have and broke it out. And you'll see that the 72 candles was broken out to that $10.05 price, and then the 6 free. So I kind of deducted out where I was, and then the 9 extra candles that Kylie had talked about, which was $10.95 because it wasn't the 12. And again, I'd order the extra 3, but I wanted to do the math for anybody who wasn't ordering those extra ones. And I used the 10% shipping that we've recommended that we think will be pretty spot on for what it would be. And my tax here is 7%. And I also have my shipping costs are taxed. So I just kind of broke it out, and this all tied back to those letters you were seeing, and I could see where my profit was, and I could see what the percentage that I was making on this. And from this example, I was making about 12, almost not quite 13%, but I haven't taken out any costs yet for my packets or any of my supplies, right? So I'm looking at about a 10% profit overall. And that's kind of where I'm looking to stay, because Jody's going to talk in a minute about some other things that you can do with a little bit of that extra money to incent organizations. So this is just purely an example. It is not anything that's set in stone. It was just a way for me to see the numbers, and I wanted to share it with everybody else. And Jody, you're up.
Yes. All right. So this is one of my favorite things, is following up, because one fundraiser should lead to another. Can you hear us, Kim?
Yep.
Okay. So you'll reach out to organizations, and they're not all going to, want to participate maybe that time, but it's okay to, like it says here, every 6 months or when a new campaign starts, you want to, reach out to those organizations again and maybe share some success from ones that you've done in the past that weren't interested at that time. And now, you want to follow up with them. And then with your fundraisers that did do a fundraiser in 3 to 6 months, you want to reach out to them again and say, okay, you did the spring one, you did amazing. You guys raised $2,000. Let's do a fall one and see if we can double it or whatever, and give them a goal to shoot for. And then follow up with those customers on those forms that we get that give you their information on there and do show an interest. I have one of my top distributors on our team. I met through a fundraiser, and when she turned in her form, they had sold 87 candles. So I knew that was somebody that I was going to be reaching out to. Anyone that sells that many candles as an individual or as a family. And Laura Bartigas, she's one of my top sales people. So you got to follow up with those people. And then incentives. And this is another thing I love. I love, recognizing people for doing great. The one thing I do caution on is, and I tend to be one that gets probably a little crazy when it comes to giving people, giving gifts and giving incentives, but I love it. It's who I am. But there are ways to really keep that under control and not, spend everything that you make on giving incentives. But you can work with the group or the school or the club that you're working with and do some really fun incentives. There is a 31 Flavors Baskin Robbins near our school where we did a fundraiser, and the owner, I knew her really well. She loved our candles, but she would give me permission to do a color page. And this was with a young, this is with an elementary school. And if the child, if they sold if they sold 5 candles, they would get a color sheet, and they had to color it, and they would take it into the 31 Flavors, and she would give them an ice cream cone. But they still had to color it, and somebody had to bring them to the ice cream parlor. So, the parents would usually end up buying ice cream or shakes or whatever it was. A free ice cream cone, and it cost us nothing to do that. So some, like we have written there, some local Dairy Queens, McDonald's, Wendy's, if you just go in and ask them, they know you're going to bring them business. So that's a good idea. Maybe somebody gets to be the principal for the day. Highest seller is recognized, at a like a big production on stage or whatever, if they're doing an assembly. If there's uniforms are necessary, maybe they have a dress down day because they reached a certain goal, or extra recess or gym. I'm a big fan of that. So we used to do that. Kids will do almost anything for 5 more minutes of recess. So, and then you can go ahead and put some money into the pot and determine, what amount are you willing to put together for like a package, a prize package. You could provide gift bags or pencils or anything that's going to appeal to the group that you're working with. I have done many times. I will say, okay, if this organization reaches, this goal, maybe if you guys sell $4,000 worth, I know in my head, I'm making about $400 roughly, like Denise said, 10%. I will put together a gift basket that's valued at $50, and then you guys can raffle it off so that you can make more money, or you can give it to the highest seller. There's just so many things you can do for incentives to get people to sell more. So I love that. I love it. It really does help to create more sales.
Oh. Bob wanted me to slide this in here tonight. So Bella Bars arrived early, everybody. So they are live on your website. And pre-orders, he said he's personally shipping those out tomorrow. So he wanted to make sure that everyone on this training heard that first. And just to remind you, the distributor cost for each is $5.95 and the retail is $9.95 for that. So a little fun surprise in there. But thank you, ladies, so much for this training, and I did promise a Q&A at the end. So Jody, can you see the questions, or do you want me to go through them?
I can see them.
Okay.
Let's see. So will we be able to get copies of the letters that the ladies are talking about? Donna wants to know, and I can answer that. Absolutely. We will provide all of those for you guys in the files. In the Bella Builders, Kim, do you think?
Yep. Yeah, and if you guys want to send them to me, if you want to do that, I can attach them all and get those all up tomorrow for everybody.
Okay. The 48 plus candle form, is that just for summer?
No, that will be for fall, winter too. So as long as they have 48 candles, that's why I have 2 separate forms, because the fragrances will change, but it's the same rules for fall, winter as well.
Yeah. And then Sherry said, like, if it's your very first fundraiser, what kind of an example can you use? I mean, you can say, if this is, you know, I'm excited about this opportunity to do this with you. It is my first fundraiser, but I've had great training, and these are some examples of success that we've had. And you can use, you know, we've had a few Mia Bella fundraisers already. So I would just say, you know, reach out maybe on the Bella Builders page and ask those that have had a fundraiser already, or, you know, use that example. It's okay to use other people's success stories when you're doing a fundraiser. So I think that's totally fine to do that. And Excel breakdown be available? I think so. I think Denise, you can make that available.
Sure. And the sheet that has that we did, Kylie's pink sheet, as she calls it, the Excel spreadsheet that's there, we ran many different sheets within that worksheet, so or within that file, so that there are pink sheets created from $22, I believe, up to $27.50 increments, so that whatever people decide that they want to sell for, not that they can't just change it, but they've already been created, so that all you have to do is print it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love that. And I think at the end of the day, you know, you have a business, right? So we all are selling this amazing product, and we're helping groups earn money for their cause, whatever it may be. But you know, I think you have to do what's best for you and for your business and for them. But ask for help with that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, getting information and finding out what's going to be best when you add in the shipping and the tax and all of those things. So I think just asking, I'd love to help, and I know anyone on this call would love to help. So definitely don't be afraid.
It's always better to run those numbers 2, 3, 4 times and have a conversation with someone else, so that you want to give that organization the right number. You never are going to be able to go and backtrack it. So don't cut yourself short, and just make sure you check your math a few times and make sure it makes sense to you before you do it.
Exactly. Okay. How do you reach out to get the best results? Letters, go to a PTO meeting, etc. I actually feel like, you know, just kind of networking with people. Who do you know in the area? Who do you know who has kids at the school? Are those kids involved in, you know, are they in cheer? Are they in choir? Are they in debate team? Or whatever it is, you know, just reach out to the people around you and get those connections going. I also feel like one fundraiser leads to 7 more, because a lot of times you might be doing a fundraiser with the local church choir, but one of the choir's brothers plays baseball over here. So, you know, just put your information out there and keep asking for those connections. And they really, one does lead to several more. So don't be afraid to keep asking that.
One thing too about PTOs, just so you know, you kind of you have a contact and you get a fundraiser with a PTO, and sometimes when those boards changes, nothing to your fault, You may lose that fundraiser a year or two later because somebody comes in with a new idea. So always keep that in mind. And the reason I say that is not because I'm saying, oh, sorry, you're going to lose it, but that you need to remember that then go back to that organization a couple years later, because those boards do change. And from year to year, the different people change and the different ideas. And somebody who had a friend that was selling something else is the reason that they did that fundraiser, and then they're gone. So just because you get a no or you have a yes and then you lose it, don't ever feel defeated by that. Because those are very personal decisions most times on PTOs and in many organizations, right? It's about the personal relationship. So just because they said no now doesn't mean that they won't say yes 2 years from now. And I had one organization, it took me, I think, about 7 years before enough of those people finally left that I was able to get in there and do it. So sometimes it's persistence.
For sure. Shirley wants to know if there are other Mia Bella logos we can use for our letters or our labels. Kim, I don't know.
Yeah, the only ones we have right now are the ones that I posted, and that's the updated one that you see here on our presentation too. That's the only one we have right now. We can always, I just know right now we have one designer who is busy with the catalog and obviously with the website. So, but I'm happy to make a list of things. So feel free to email me and let me know what type of things you're looking for, and we can put a wish list together. Love to do that.
And then when do the fall winter fundraisers end? I think
ends into December 31st. It starts August 1st and
Correct.
December 31st, right, Kim?
Yep. And the plan is that hopefully Lowell, because I had him fast track the fundraiser ones, so I know he's really hoping to have it, I would say early. He's got, his mother passed away, so I'm giving him a little break this week, obviously. So I'm hoping he'll have it next week for us, but he is fast tracking that for us because he knows it's important to get those before August in your hands. So
that's sad. Francine asked if there's a fundraising minimum. I guess the minimum, if you want to keep in line with the profits that you're going to see, it's going to be 12. So that would be your fundraising minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And then the maximum is 10,000. No.
There is no limit.
No limit.
Sky's the limit.
I think that's all the questions on here.
Yeah. And that is the great thing too about having the 15 fragrances. Again, you don't have to use them, but it really does help. I mean, you have to understand, I know we all understand a lot of what the warehouse is going through right now. And if you've ever had anything to do with managing inventory and being over the product development and all of that, I know their pain. And if we can help them to be able to order the labels and get these things in-house now and the fragrance, especially just for those 15 fragrances, that will be huge to everyone, because then they can really commit to saying, we're not going to run out of this, guys. We're going to have this because we've set ourselves up for success because of this. And that's another reason to help limit the fragrances. Even though it's great to have that flexibility, this really will help them through the fundraising season. Again, to not let anybody down, right? We don't want anyone down, especially our new organizations. So that's exciting. And so again, I wanted to thank everybody for this, all of your time. And I hope that everyone learned something new. I always learn something new when listening to you guys. And I just wanted to remind you that next week, so mark your calendars, and I'll set this up also in the Bella Builders page, that we have Danielle Foster and her mom, Blythe German, who are going to be doing their training. And if any of you have seen their candles and coffee, they are so funny. They do videos. I know they do them at least once a week, but they are so fun. But they're going to talk about fun event activities that are interactive and things to keep the fun going, no matter what type of event you want to do. So that's going to be next week, same time, 5 p.m. Arizona time, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday of next week. So we'll look forward to seeing you all there as well. So thank you again, ladies, and thank you everybody for taking the time out to listen to this. And let's help grow Mia Bellas. This is going to be a fantastic year for Mia Bellas and everybody here. So very excited to be here. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.